Hey kids, Pastor Greg here again with another story for you. This one is about when people try to do things all on their own. It's great to be able to do things on our own, isn't it? To learn how to ride a bike or tie your shoes or learn new things at school like how to figure out math problems and how to do things around the house that can help out. That's really great that we get to do things. But there are some times when we try to do things on our own in a way that could let us forget about God, that can get us into trouble. That's what today's story is about. It's called the Tower of Babel, and it's about some folks who wanted to build a stairway all the way to heaven. It's a story, again, in this book, the Jesus Storybook Bible by Sally Lloyd Jones. It goes like this. Noah and his family lived in the land, and his children had children, and his children's children had children, and they even had more children. And, well, you get the picture. There were a lot of people living on the earth once more. Now, back then, everyone spoke exactly the same language. So you didn't need to learn Swahili or Japanese or any other language to talk to your neighbors. Just say hello. And everybody knew what you meant. And one day, everyone was talking and they came up with an idea. Let's build ourselves a beautiful city to live in. It can be our home and we'll be safe forever and ever. And they had another idea. Let's build a really tall tower to reach up to heaven. Yes, they said. We'll say, look at us up here, and everyone will look up at us, and we will look down on them, and then we'll know that we are something. We'll be like God. We'll be famous and safe and happy, and everything will be all right. And so they got to work. Brick by brick, the tower grew higher and higher until it soared above the city, touching the sky. And they built stairs in the tower to climb to the top. It was like a giant staircase to heaven. Look, they cheered. We are the ones. See what we can do on our very own, with our very own hands. They were quite pleased with themselves. But God was not pleased with them. God could see what they were doing. They were trying to live without Him. But God knew it wouldn't make them happy or safe or anything. If they kept on like this, they would only destroy themselves, and God loved them too much to let that happen. So He stopped their plans. This is how He did it. One morning, they went to work, but as usual, but everything was different. Their words were all new and funny. You see, God had given each person a different language, and suddenly no one understood what anyone else was saying. Someone would say, "How do you do?" But the other person thought they said, "How ugly are you?" Well, that wasn't very funny. You could say something very nice like, "Such a lovely morning." But someone might give you a punch in the nose because they thought you said, "Hush up, you're boring." You couldn't even say pardon to check and see if you heard right because no one understood the words. It wasn't easy to work together after that, as you could only imagine. People were always quarreling and fighting and getting in dreadful muddles and becoming grumpier and grumpier until at last they were just too cross to keep on building and just had to stop. And after that, the people scattered all over the world, which is how we ended up with so many different languages to this day. You see, God knew however high they reached and however hard they tried, people could never get back to heaven by themselves. They didn't need a staircase. They needed a rescuer. Because the way back to heaven isn't a staircase, it's a person. People could never reach up to heaven, so heaven would have to come down to them. And one day, it would. We know some of that story, don't we? About how God came down in the person of Jesus to make a way for us to connect with him again. Well, I hope you keep learning to do things on your own, learning to build stuff and understand how the world works, and maybe learning to play an instrument or even speaking a different language. That's such a great thing to do. But remember, in all the things we're able to do, we need God to help us do it in the way that pleases him. Well, I hope you keep learning. Until next time, bye-bye.